Hi, everybody. I'm Paige Elizabeth, and this is my series called Creating Consciousness. And today I'm really happy. I finally was able to get Tuesday to join me for a call. It's not that
Hi.
often that I have a client who is willing to have a discussion publicly about some of the work because it's uncomfortable. So, but thankfully Tuesday is really embracing her healing journey, and she's, very comfortable speaking out loud. So we finally, in the midst of this divorce she's going through, we were finally able to find time so that she could sit down and actually record with me. So welcome, Tuesday.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, definitely. So this particular discussion is going to be centered around really and truly the core of nervous system burnout. And while I work with women, this is not exclusive to women. This is a pattern that happens across the spectrum, and we're going to talk about it, and that's betrayal and how betrayal really does affect everything because we buy into this at some point in our life and it becomes the message, the signal we're sending the body, which is it's not safe to be me. And the thing is, when it comes to anything, nervous system dysfunction, autoimmune disorder, the body, if we're living in duality, the body can only manage that for so long before it starts to catch up and look like things like Hashimoto's disease or, you know, um, everyone's calling it perimenopause, and I'm really sick and tired of that label because men also suffer from the same symptoms. They just don't have a label to scapegoat it under, but they suffer from HPA dysfunction and nervous system dysregulation as well. Um, so yeah, we wanted to like really address this topic, and I'm gonna start off by actually telling my own story because I'm still healing parts of myself, even to this day, even though my energy is great, my sleep is great, my focus is great. Um, there's still pieces, there's still fragments that I find, even after 20 years of healing, And this week I found myself finally, like I knew I needed to get to this, like I knew there was a looming issue, but being under a Neptune transit, which is all fog and smoke and mirrors, it was really hard to get to it, right? And it was just loud as day. It's like I know about like intellectually, I'm like, yeah, I know there was betrayal, right? Because I had a mother who was narcissistic and who was abusive. So it was like easy to point at the perpetrator. The work I hadn't done is where I bought into it, right?
Yeah,
So, and
absolutely.
that's kind of going to be like the crux of our discussion today. So, um, and I'll talk about my situation more as we go through this, but I'd like to also introduce Tuesday and how she got here and what we're doing with her. And, so I have a program that allows women to heal on all levels. And it is important to heal on all levels because nervous system dysfunction does not happen in a vacuum. It doesn't happen in one aspect. It's whole system, right? So bring us up to speed on your background and what's going on in your life, and we'll go from there, Tuesday.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you and to discuss these things. I feel like this conversation is hugely important, and especially hearing everything that you have to say about the nervous system being connected to that betrayal and how betrayal is the thing that dysregulates the nervous system. I relate to that so much because that's been my whole life. I'm the oldest child of 13 children. I was raised in an extremely intense household with a lot of, like, my father was an alcoholic. My mother had borderline personality disorder and undiagnosed, untreated bipolar for most of my life until recently when she was diagnosed. And so the idea of nervous system dysregulation is something I'm very familiar with. That's been my whole background. Um, but looking at the buy-in is has been profound for me. Everywhere that I've been able to take accountability in my life has led me to freedom. And anyway, so along with my family, I also grew up in an extremely religiously intense environment. And it's only been recently that I've decided to reclaim my life as a full participant and see what it is that I want and what works for me and what feels good to me in my body and to allow my nervous system to experience healing in any way. So these conversations are profound. Thank you.
A lot of women I find they tend to be like, "Oh yeah, no, like I know how to use my voice or I know how to speak. Like I'm a leader." And it's like in this area,
Oh, sure.
right? Like there's an area where they're like exceptional at it. But even then, there's so much imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is really at the core, it's again, it's not safe to be me. So who do I need to be to show up? And the body's
Yeah.
like, but that's not who you really are. So why do I not feel congruent with what I'm actually doing? Right. So you feel in the body the imposter aspect of it, right? Because if you could truly show up in your own skin with your own like real message, then where's the imposter?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you know, like you don't come from the corporate world. You, like I do, you come from a Mormon background with its own just really rigid structures of conformity and like how you're supposed to show up and what that's supposed to look like. And if you want to be accepted and if you want to get praised and promoted and become the Relief Society president, like they have all these stringent rules that you need to follow. So it's really no different than like a woman in the executive world. But I feel as though like I mean, I don't know anyone really who didn't come from some sort of system that was rigid, that had rules where you literally had to betray your true essence in order to
Mm-hmm.
die.
Yeah, the whole process is very relatable.
Right. It's like I don't know anyone who hasn't had to do that somewhere. And
Yeah.
so, you know, it's a very relatable topic. And I do get pushback from women who are like, no, this is different, or no, I just was born this way. It's like, look, I lost my hair at age 4. All of it fell out. I went bald. I looked like a chemotherapy patient. And my mother, my deeply narcissistic mother, who, you know, was very prideful about image, was very quick to want to fix it because heaven forbid her daughter looked like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, I lost my hair because of trauma. Enough HPA dysfunction will lead to thyroid issue. Thyroid doesn't happen on its own. Thyroid is always subject to the adrenal. And and when you're living in chronic crisis where it's never safe and you're always on eggshells, right? And I remember
Mm-hmm.
years ago doing EMDR and recognizing like the child sent a message to me and said I had to manifest this so that way mom would quit being the perpetrator and go to protector mode instead. And so it was like it was manifested just so that my humanity would be seen. And how many women have thyroid issues?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
how many women have been taught that you're not allowed to speak up, you know, silent, stay small, stay digestible, you know, like smile and nod, all of this stuff, right? Only to have these thyroid issues, and they don't happen independently on their own. They happen as
Mm-hmm.
a result of a lifetime of conformity.
Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting with that too, speaking of like nervous system and trauma and backgrounds. My grandma had a goiter. Speaking of thyroid issues, and my mother-in-law had a my former mother-in-law had um, hypothyroidism,
Mhm.
and it's like it's really easy to see where I'm at now. We're like, oh, there are environmental factors here, specifically as it relates to the shit we put up with. You know, the
Well, how do you expect the body to not turn on itself when you've turned on yourself?
exactly.
That's basically what's happening. And it starts with the immune system, and then over time it
Mm-hmm.
ends up in the nervous system. And,
Mm-hmm.
or vice versa. It can start with, like in my case, it started with HPA dysfunction and then it translated to thyroid and my body just all the hair falling out. And
Yeah.
they figured it out with, go ahead.
This just reminding me of something that I totally forgot about. I was born with no fingernails and no toenails. Like that's the same process as hair growth.
Mm.
My body was rejecting the environment while I was in the womb. You know, like I was already panicking before I got here. So,
Trust me, I
which
I I
makes
get it.
sense. Like knowing where my mom and her mother came from, it was not safe, and my DNA was with them for both of those generations. Of course, I learned that it wasn't safe to be here. It's just interesting.
Well, this is also why, like, I don't subscribe to Western allopathic medicine. I've said this before. I think it's great for emergencies and plastic surgery, but it's not great for healing.
Yeah.
It's good for managing and not making things worse, but not a single doctor could figure out what was wrong with me, right? It was a Chinese homeopath, no, sorry, Korean homeopathic doctor who was like, yeah, it was her thyroid.
Yeah.
And the thyroid, metaphysically speaking, represents humiliation.
Ah, of course.
So
Well,
it's like I knew about these things and I identified the betrayal when I was assaulted because it reopened that can of worms back in
mhm,
2019 and I was able to heal a lot of it, the humiliation, obviously the betrayal by my mother, her being the perpetrator and kind of unlocking that and dislodging that piece to be able to finally reintegrate. But I hadn't addressed my own buy-in.
mhm. I had a similar so it's interesting with the hair story that you shared. So when I was really little, I like it's different because I it wasn't a bodily process, but I did cut my bangs really short to assert my autonomy, and I got beat with a brush for it by my mother. She was so embarrassed and humiliated by my expression that that's how she chose to relate to me. And that's how I had an immediate buy-in at that time of like, oh, I can't trust myself to make my own decisions, and the stuff
Mhm.
I want isn't good for me and only leads to humiliation, abandonment, abuse, and so even just then it's that same relationship that you're talking about of like, you know what? Why not just abandon myself now? It's safer that way.
Well, and it's not like I say this a lot. So trauma is not what happens to us, it's how we relate to what happens to us, right?
Yeah.
And it's that buy-in that creates the long-term repercussions, right? Because if I say to myself, the only way to stay safe is to be abandoned, and then I'm 22, 25, 30, and I'm only ever attracting men who abandon me and going, why do they keep abandoning me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is where the mirror reflects very clearly and why
Absolutely.
I constantly tell people you have to choose yourself. You have to choose yourself. You have to love yourself. And it's like they keep wanting it from the outside. No, I just haven't met the
Mm-hmm.
guy. It's their responsibility to love me. No, it's not. It's yours, right? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of pushback when it comes to say like, well, now you're victim blaming. No, this isn't victim blaming. We're not blaming the 2-year-old inside you.
Mm-hmm.
We are redirecting them to understand that, like, as long as you hang on to, I need to be abandoned, it's going to just keep perpetuating in your life, right?
Right. Well, and when I look at my child self in that scene, it's like of course it's not to blame myself, but I do have a relationship to that experience, and I feel like that's kind of what you're talking about, where like of course no one is to blame for their childhood, but all of us have a relationship to our story and our background and where we came from, and we made decisions from that place, and it's everyone has a history that impacted their life.
No,
And now
absolutely.
what now as adults, what do we want to do about it? you know
Well, and that's the thing, right? And it's like, I had another client who was just like, this just isn't working. We have her on a whole foods diet, lots of nutrition pouring into the system. We've got her recalibrating, and her nervous system is rejecting it. And so, I'm just like, she's like, I'm so exhausted.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you're not missing any nutrients and you're not in a deficit. So it's not an issue of the diet. It's an issue of the nervous system now not being able to hide behind, whatever it
Hmm.
was before, right? The only thing we're taking out of your system right now is inflammation.
Yeah. Well, and that's where it gets so sneaky. Those like old patterns. I find that in my life, those old patterns, anywhere that I'm making a shift, anywhere that I'm making a change, that's where um like my body's like, okay, maybe it's safe right here. But if I'm experiencing something new, that's when those old patterns want to sneak right back up. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why psychosomatic um, patterns, they tend to work in reverse, right? So as you do the
hmm
healing work, they get worse.
hmm
The old no, they actually
it's
get
like
worse because
demolition. It looks better. It looks way worse before it gets better.
no, absolutely, because basically it needs to survive. And I found this a lot with yoga students. So for example, and she's a yoga teacher, and I told her, I was like, girl, I know you've given an adjustment to someone who was like, don't touch me there.
Hmm.
Right? Because they're holding on to some trauma, some pain, some holographic information. And the body's like, if you push hard enough, this has to go. And you can't push me out of a home I've lived in for 30 plus years. So how dare you? Right. And so what happens is the old voice comes forward, but we don't distinguish between it being the old voice. And we're like, this diet's bad for me.
Yeah,
Yes.
this new change I've made is scary, and
And it's not the diet, it's the echo of the old pattern saying, if you keep going, I can't sustain the stasis anymore.
yeah,
And this is where the work becomes really uncomfortable and you have to be that much more cognizant. And as a coach, I'm very aware of this. Like
yeah.
even myself this week, right? So I have been repairing an old pattern now, and I've spoken about this. So for like 3 years, fight after fight after fight. I'm like, how am I in another legal battle? But like, fuck you, you're not taking advantage of me. So here we are again. And I just got to this point where I was like, okay, spirit, universe, higher self, like what? Something has got to give. Is this just a season in my life? Like something has got to give. And I sat with it and I really surrendered to it. And it became very clear to me that again, then I talk about this a lot. And this is why I switched my branding up a little bit and just started back into public speaking and having my keynote be when women speak, they heal, because it was part of my own shift.
Hmm.
But it was like, you're not operating from your authority. You've been very, very, very good about standing up for yourself, Paige. You will fight back. You have nailed that process. But you've never done it from a space of authority. You've always done it from a space of reactivity, defensiveness, temper tantrum, the child, not the adult. And when the child doesn't feel empowered, it throws a temper tantrum, it fights back, it screams to be seen and validated. Whereas the authority is like, this is just the law of the land. This is just how it's going to be. And so I consciously made the decision to then show up in these situations, not from this reactive child place, but like, you're not going to take advantage of me. This is just not acceptable. And so I've been integrating this since about March. And then like there's literally like a list. I'm like, charge back, CFPB, Attorney General, 3 litigation. Like I'm like, I got a list of people that are just not gonna take advantage of me. And in the space of a week, right? Like I had a doctor that I had worked with for years who recently was just becoming too comfortable touching me. And again, I've worked with him since I was 18. So this is not something he's always done. And it just felt very violating. Like this man does incredible energetic work over the phone. He doesn't need to touch me in person when I come see him in person. Like he can get the job done without ever touching me.
Of course.
But because he's been like the go-to for me, I mean, I have learned so much from his work. Like he's a genius. There was this part of me that was like, but if I stand up against him and I lose that relationship, then I lose that source of education, that source of healing. But
Yeah.
that part of me was just like, at what cost though, bitch? Because I'm tired of being disrespected, right? So
Yeah.
finally, I sent him an email and I just made it very clear. And I was like, I don't even know if you're cognizant that you're doing this. Because sometimes when you're in the healing space, you're just kind of operating, you're not really thinking about what you're.
Yeah.
I did give him the benefit of the doubt, and I was really concerned that he would, because he's not, he has his own shadow side, and I was
Of
concerned that
course.
he would backlash, and I was prepared for that because in my life, as I have stood up for myself, I have done it for myself, not to be heard, not to be heard by the other, but to be heard by myself. And I was like, okay, I'm doing this for me, recognizing I could lose that link. And he emailed me back, like profusely apologizing, saying, I didn't even know that I was doing that. And the fact that you're strong enough and bold enough to say something tells me you're not the only one. And thank you for clarifying, because now I can bring that awareness to all my clients.
Yeah.
And I cried, not because anything bad happened, but because I was like, wow, somebody saw me. And I didn't have to get mean and nasty and defensive.
Mhm.
And then there was a guy. So I live in Vegas and I'd go to events and I meet people, and I had met some Raiders players, young guys. And I like going to the pools. I like doing stuff like that, but my peers don't. So, and here's these new fresh Raiders boys, and they're like, where do we go hang out? And I was like, I'll take you to the pool. We had made an arrangement and I had everything comped. And I just told him, I said, look, I just asked that you cover the tip.
Yeah.
Raiders guy specifically. I said, I just asked that you cover the tip. And the waitress said, like, all the alcohol is comped, but if you order food or water, that you have to pay for. And she had my credit card to get started, but I didn't have anything that was mine, right? So at the end, she runs it, like all the waters he had ordered on my card. And I was like, no, he's going to take care of it. And she's like, oh, I already charged it. And I'm thinking, you didn't, because I didn't sign for anything. You ran my card, but whatever.
Yeah.
And he just interjects. He goes, I'll just Venmo you. All right, whatever. But he ends up ghosting me instead.
Hmm.
And so 2 months later, like I just was like, that's fine. The universe always finds a way. And so I just texted him and I said, look, you clearly would rather that I see you as a thief and a liar and a coward, and that's fine. But just know that like nobody takes advantage of me and gets away with it without regret. Have a nice day.
Ah.
Like, I don't know when or how, but like it will
Yeah,
come.
it's just how it works.
And it's not like it wasn't even a lot of money. It was $150, but it was just the principle of it. Like, you're not going to take advantage of me. And
Yeah.
so the next day he sends me $175 with an apology. And so again, I was like, wow, I'm being seen and being heard.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later, I get an email from the attorney from a coaching program I had signed up for, but they treated me so badly. And I was like, I can't participate in this context anymore. I want my money back. And they pushed back even harder. And I was like, that's fine. That's fine. And so instead of reacting, I was like, I just took the next logical step. So I
Mhm.
contacted the attorney general and I filed in small claims in Tennessee. And then as soon as their attorney got the service of the what's it called? The case, the hearing, I get a letter saying if you drop both of these things, we'll issue you a full refund within 24 hours of signing this agreement.
Ah. Of
And it was
course.
just my body, it was almost like my body didn't even know how to absorb or process that, right?
Well, yeah. It's so what you're talking about reminds me of, okay, so what you were just saying is that no one takes advantage of you and gets away with it. And that's just a truth. That's just how it works for you in your life. And I feel like it's you were talking about the way that words manifest and the way that vernacular matters materializes a person's story and their reality. And it reminds me, to me, because I am created of truth, I am truth, truth is mine, I will always have truth.
Mhm.
Anyone who's lying to me, that's fake. It's not real. So the reality will always come to me. And when, it's just, it's funny, being raised in Mormonism, I have been married twice and both times to Mormon men. And when I had one previous marriage where there was a domestic violence situation in my first marriage, and I remember it took me a couple of days to decide to write the report, and because I finally did, and because there was that little bit of time, it just created a delayed legal process, and he accidentally pled guilty. It wasn't intentionally. He told me he wasn't going to, and then he did. And it turns out his lawyer had a brain tumor and accidentally filed the paperwork incorrectly. But but it matched his testimony, it matched my testimony, and the truth was honored regardless of how he was choosing to move through his life. Because like a lie is a facade. It's not real.
Right.
Truth is what's real. Reality is what manifests in my life. And the same thing happened in another situation where, again, Mormon men, I don't know. Like, wow, those temple
I've never dated a
marriages are
Mormon
really
guy and I
worth
was
something,
raised
aren't
Mormon.
they? But there was just some things happening that indicated to me that there was an affair going on. And it was mostly subtle, you know, like pictures were being taken without me, and like we went to a concert, and he was kind of trying to make sure he got the picture without me, and then he's telling me about it later. Oh, I was showing my coworkers pictures of me at the concert. I'm like, you mean of us, the concert we went to? Yeah, it's like whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, I know that truth is mine, and so as soon as I like all none of these things were hard to see. It's just that I was in a space of I wasn't ready to see them or hear them. When I decided when I decided that I was ready to see and hear, my eyes and ears were open.
Mhm.
And the next day, so I remember it was October 30th, and I had claimed clarity, honesty, authenticity, and virtue in my marriage. And the next day, I found bruises on his back, indicating an affair, a physical affair. And um, the placement was unmistakable. and it's it's like, oh, I don't have to ask. He doesn't have to tell me the truth. He doesn't have to tell me what happened. I already know. And I could have done this at any time in the years that we were married, but I chose not to. And that's like, so this ultimate act of betrayal was um was it was simply the logical and most natural conclusion to years of self-betrayal. It's just interesting how that works.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I was assaulted and I went through a legal battle and it was by a man I'd known 15 years. It was absolute betrayal of safety. And it's like, here are these situations, right? Like being ghosted by someone who said they would pay you. And I was like, bro, do you not realize that like I am a Vegas native? And like if I wanted to just run your name through the mud, I could. Like, and the coaching program, right?
Yeah.
Like the betrayal of like, this is not what I signed up for, right?
Yeah.
Or the doctor who's touching me wrong, like all of these areas. And of course, for me, the lesson was you don't have to fight anymore. You can just show up and set the tone and be like, this is just not going to happen.
Hmm.
And like the thing that people don't understand. So like this is where when it comes to responding to reality, right? So we have something that's acted upon us, right? And we feel it. We're like, oh my God, this is uncomfortable, right?
Right.
So it's about training the adult to show up so that the child that's like, God damn it, not again, doesn't
Please.
have to deal with it. Because that internal reaction, that's the child going, I'm here by myself again. That's the child reacting.
Yeah.
That's not the adult. The adult knows how to handle things. But when we have that internal response, that's where there's still that rift where we haven't integrated. And that's where, again, I had that piece. And so I'm having these situations where I'm showing up as the adult, right? And I'm just like, probably out of just pure fucking fatigue at this point, just like, no. Like, I
Mhm.
don't even have the energy at this point. Just no. And because I really wanted to embrace the side of myself that's wanted to be poised and graceful. I don't want to react and fight and be defensive and reactive and retaliate. Like, I just don't want to be that person anymore. And so, as I'm integrating this in real time, this piece that no longer served just kept bubbling up to the surface. And for like a
Mhm.
week, I just found myself feeling so raw and vulnerable and on the verge of tears. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And as I'd get still, like I would just see this picture of myself at age 4 without hair, just crying. And so I'm like, okay, let's listen to that. Like, what does she have to say? And like one day it finally just bubbled up and I heard the word betrayal.
Mhm.
And I know how to reparent. I've been reparenting for 10 years. And I was like, I never took responsibility for
Mhm.
the fact that I betrayed you. And as I went into that space, she's like, she had to forfeit who she wanted to be. For 40 years, she didn't get to be who she wanted to be.
Yeah.
She had to be defensive and the scapegoat and the fighter. And I've literally lived my whole life feeling as though I have a blatant sign in my energetic field that says, I'm the problem. I'm the problem. Like
Mhm.
I was at the grocery store recently and this lady goes, "Oh yeah, I recognize you from the gym." And my instant response was, "What did I do? Did I do something?"
Yeah.
I don't know how to be received because I've never been able to. And I'm like, that poor child has never gotten to live the life she wanted. Never,
Mhm.
right? And so like reparenting that part and just being like, yeah, like I betrayed you. And again, when we go back to victim shaming, people are really sensitive to this because it's like you're blaming them.
Mhm.
There's no blame. You didn't know any better,
Yeah.
right? Like the 4-year-old didn't know any better. She was trying to survive a system that didn't want her to exist in.
Mhm. Well, that little Tuesday that cut her bangs too short and got beat with a brush for it, and then shaved her eyebrows off to be more feminine, because eyebrows are masculine apparently. Um, I I got that message that, oh, all my choices are not good for me. My
Mhm.
I make bad choices and they are met with punishment. So don't do that. And the only like with my inner child, all I've seen is this little girl that's like, "Are you sure it's okay?" Are you sure it's okay to want something? Are you sure it's okay to do something that we want? Like, and the only way to build that safety that I found is by trusting the process. And what I've had come up for me over and over is that every desire I have is for my healing. And I'm finally seeing, like, oh, that's where that came from. Because the only way for my inner child to feel safe with me is for me to show her that it's safe for me to make choices and to want things. And that when I choose the things that I want, I met with healing and with joy and with safety for
Mhm.
the first time ever.
Yeah, and this is why nervous system dysregulation, burnout, all of these symptoms that we call aging or low testosterone or perimenopause, they started a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
A long time ago, and we have bought into a system, regardless of whether it's religion, the corporate world, whoever you are, whatever you do, you've bought into something that says it's not safe to be me. Let me just shut that part of me down. And the body goes, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
Because, feelings buried alive never die.
Yeah.
The book called that, by the way.
I remember. I've
Yeah.
seen that.
Yeah. You can't shut that part of you down and expect your body to thrive.
Yeah.
And so at some point there is just a reckoning, and it's it's not a matter of like if, it's a matter of when. And I
Mm-hmm.
really wish I could find, like, I wish there was a study that they would do, because I know anecdotally I've noticed this, that severely codependent people pleasing women are always the ones who end up with breast cancer.
Interesting.
I wish I could like get an actual study to pull the data
Oh,
from. But my God, have I noticed this trend?
wow.
But
That's
how,
huge.
but like when we suppress, we create internal friction,
Mm-hmm.
and the body, it betrays itself and will take it out, right?
Yeah.
Start subtly, like I don't have energy, I'm not recalibrating. And then it ends up being really loud, like Hashimoto's. Like you
Yeah.
should never have to have your thyroid removed, gallbladder. You can,
Yeah.
like bitterness. That's what bitterness is. We do the liver. The liver is anger. I mean, I'm getting ready to do a whole or not psychosomatic, somatic series. I guess it would be psychosomatic too, but like a whole series on like trauma in the body parts.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to hear that one. Sounds great. Bring it
Because,
on.
well, because especially as a former yoga teacher, like I started doing Ashtanga, which is incredibly rigid, but like I was
Yeah.
always an outlier and I used the system at my own liberty. And so I attracted those who really wanted, integration, healing, and personal power as opposed to just conformity.
Yeah.
And we always worked on healing,
Oh,
healing the trauma, releasing it from the hips, releasing it from the hamstrings, releasing it from the rib cage, the grief, and um getting it out, because trauma that gets stuck in the vagus nerve, it doesn't just go away on its own.
no.
And core patterns, they don't just go away on their own.
No. It's
My
gotta.
4-year-old was just like, okay, you're finally, and it's so interesting, right? It wasn't like obvious. It was, why do I feel like self-punishing? Why do I feel like crying? Why do I feel defeated? And I'm scanning my environment and my circumstances for evidence. And it's just been win, 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 win. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not present day. This is old.
Yeah.
This is the child saying, hey, now that you're quiet enough, I got to tell you something,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why being really good at being observant is kind of an essential skill set you have to learn when you heal, because
Yeah.
otherwise mistake the old for present, and you'll go, well, I'm not
No.
losing weight fast enough. That must be the reason I'm upset. Like, you'll project the present onto it somehow and
Yeah.
assume that's what it is when it's not. The grief is stuck. It's old.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. What I'm noticing, because I've been doing your program for a little while now, and I've been doing carnivore for about a week and a half, and it does quiet the space.
Hmm.
It does quiet, because as you're sharing this story, what I'm hearing, I'm like, oh, I see. When everything else around you is working, that's when little Paige trusts you to listen.
Hmm.
That makes sense. She's like, oh yeah, she's gonna hear me now. This is my time.
We've
And
removed the noise.
yeah, the noise is gone from the environment. And I'm like, oh, I see. That's what this is about. Um, with you having this elimination diet as part of the program. That makes sense.
Yeah, and for context, there's different protocols that I do for women depending on where they are in their process. So Tuesday
Yeah.
just 35. So she's at the whisper stage. Her body hasn't shut down on her. And so she's in a really good space. Plus we do a whole intake form. So she's, runs high blood sugar, has PCOS, and so she's a really good candidate for an extreme diet,
Mhm.
which works pretty quickly.
It does. I've already
And
lost like 10 pounds
yeah.
in a week and a
And
half.
well, and not everyone is a candidate for that. Some women,
Yeah,
especially if your body is just flatlined, we have to be sensitive to this system. We have to really overly nurture it, give it a lot of whole foods, and
absolutely.
make sure that we are putting good stuff in, not just eliminating things.
Mhm.
But
That's
she's
where I was a year ago. There's no
yeah,
way a year ago where I was at that I would have been able to handle something as strict as the carnivore diet because it's just so
yeah,
intense.
yeah,
And I was way more, way more susceptible to burnout at that time in my life. So,
yeah. So like, depending on where your nervous system is at, we have to respect the physiology.
mhm.
And I'm excited, for Tuesday because after she does carnivore, we can get her into other things to weight train and actually retrain the signaling, right? So that way insulin resistance isn't constantly a threat. Right?
Yeah,
We can actually build up the muscular system and change all of that. Because once you build up muscle, you actually do change a lot of that signaling, right? To
that's so
stabilize
neat.
blood sugar. But right now, we're able to actually eliminate the inflammatory factors and actually
Mhm.
quiet the mind. And it does
Exactly.
help to pull stuff forward. But not everyone's a candidate for an extreme diet going into this, and that's fine.
Mhm.
I wouldn't recommend that for everybody, but she is. And so it's interesting to hear that because yeah, when you pull all of the foods out of the system that play into those bacterias that just constantly mirror the pain, the need, the addiction,
Mhm.
it's much harder, right, to get quiet. And it's not that it's not possible.
Sure.
You have to take a different approach and a more gentle approach. So, um, but yeah, like if you're in that place where like where she is, right? She's trying to get her voice back and get a divorce. Her body hasn't failed her right now. She's just trying to move forward. And
Mhm. And it's working.
well, and she was in a position, and this is where, we started working together and I called her out because she was in a position where she's like, yeah, like the divorce was fine and just waiting for the house to sell. And I'm like, you've been waiting for this house to sell for a what's going on? Something's going, like, what?
Yeah.
So go ahead and talk about like how you kind of just like had
Well,
a little epiphany about like, wait a moment.
yeah, well, I was just calculating some of the days and I was like, oh, I've been waiting on my realtor to show up for like 70 days now. I've been without internet for like 80 days now. At what point is it at what point am I accountable for my environment? You know? so, um, so yeah, so I was able to look at, okay, what do I want and what can I do about it from here? And I ended up simply choosing to contact a lawyer and just write a legal letter to. I mean, everything I wanted, everything is already lined out in the divorce paperwork, and that's the part that went really smoothly and easily, where we could agree. But it's only easy if everyone's following the paperwork. And
Okay.
so all I did was I realized that after going to my ex over and over and over, asking for really simple processes to happen, like to honor my legal right as a co-homeowner to have representation from a realtor, and that hadn't happened. And so all I did was just talk to someone and
But
have
you
my
found out in the middle of this
yeah,
that you weren't even on the title, correct?
that's right. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
And so
That's what
thank
happened with
God
the
you,
the realtor. Yeah. Well, because the realtor, he had there was some things that had come up where he wasn't following through on dates, and so I was like, okay, it's time for us to get a different realtor. And he was like, you can't fire me. You don't own the home. I was like, what do you mean? And on the divorce paperwork, where this was something that we didn't realize, I had signed a quit claim so that he could qualify for the loan when we first got the house, but we were supposed to sign together afterwards, and that just never happened. Part of it was because I was deep, 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 deep in postpartum depression during the process of buying and selling our home. So selling our last house and buying this house that we currently own. And so a lot of things just were left undone. And it took me a couple of years to get out of that space. So anyway, but then now this realtor that we worked with during our marriage, during that time, who knew I was vulnerable, is again the realtor, and he's throwing it in my face like, well, I don't have to listen to you. You don't own the home, and here's the paperwork to prove it. You're not on the title. And I was like, okay, then I'm not communicating with you. If you're going to treat me like I'm not a homeowner, I'm not going to anyway, it's made it frustrating for my ex, who would like me to behave. and I'm like, this is behaving. I'm not going to act like this is my realtor when it's not. If I'm not on the paperwork, I don't have legal representation. I don't have somebody, like, I'm not even legally allowed to go to another realtor and have them tell me what's going on with my property. And I'm not going to trust someone that I'm not signing paperwork with. So it really puts a damper on the whole process by not involving me. And so all I've done is assert my right to be involved. And um, and I was able to create a legal letter with the assistance of some realtors, not realtors, geez, some lawyers, and and just contact everyone involved. And now the QDRO is signed. I have a title appointment next week where we're signing the title together, and I will have representation for the sale of my home. It's just like none of these avenues um, were unavailable to me over the past 70, 80 days. But I just was like, I was still playing that game of, oh, it's okay, the men will handle it. It's okay. Um, everything's taken care of. We've signed all the paperwork. It's okay. I can wait one more week. It's okay. I can wait on me. Fuck that. I'm
Mhm.
tired of waiting. I'm done waiting on my life to take form, and this is where we're at.
Yeah. So if we were to backtrack a little bit, though, if you don't mind talking about
Sure.
why you were like, this marriage isn't working.
Oh, sure. So there were. It's funny. I feel like one of the big so unilateral decision making is what if I had to simplify the whole thing, that would be it. A lot of in my experience, and maybe I don't know all Mormon men, but the ones I do know are very comfortable making unilateral decisions in their relationships, and that's not something I'm comfortable with. That's not something I'm okay with. I want to be a part an active. I want to have an active role in my adult life. And um, yeah, there were things that came up right away. Like I had found out that there was this huge secret that he'd been keeping from me prior to our marriage and into our marriage, and that I only discovered after I was very, very pregnant with our first child, that affected my choice. And I realized that I had not had the opportunity to, um, I hadn't been given the opportunity to fully consent to my marriage because I didn't have the information. And so, in discovering that, I also discovered that this is a person that's willing to lie to my face. This is a person that is willing to risk my sexual reproductive health.
Mhm.
Um, and so I knew that there were some huge risks moving forward. Um, but we were having a child together, and I wasn't ready to like make that kind of a change. And then when we had a second child together, I was having a home birth. This is, oh, I was having a home birth, and he was in the backyard with a jackhammer. And I was like, this person does not love me. And that was devastating to experience because I knew that like this was deeper than what I was willing to acknowledge in reality. Um, and then shortly after that is when we sold our home and then moved into the process of buying this home. And there were things that happened in that process where I was like, oh, whatever illusion that I've had about an eternal marriage in a religious context, oh my goodness, um, excuse me, excuse me, whatever, that's just what the universe agreeing with me. Thanks for the affirmations. No, I was like, whatever illusion I've had of an eternal marriage doesn't exist here because the whole idea in Mormonism is that what is bound on earth will be bound in heaven. And I realized that nothing was bound on earth, that there were no decisions being made together, there were no processes being taken together. I wasn't being involved in anything. And um yeah, there were just a lot of things like that that came up, like huge investments that were made without my knowledge or consent, to the amount of $20,000, and it's just I realized like I would like to have a say. I
Yeah.
would like the downstairs bathroom remodeled. The sink is gathering water in the back, and it's not appropriate for our children to live in this environment. Um, but that only gets considered if I'm being considered. And I finally had to just be honest with myself that I'm not interested in being in a marriage where I'm not considered. I tried to be okay with that for a long time, and I'm not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that was part of the betrayal. Like every time I told myself that lie, that I was okay with not being heard, that I was okay with not being valued, that was me actively participating in my own betrayal. So again, I wasn't. It's not surprising that these things were happening around me, and that things came up in the marriage, um, like even the $20,000 example. That's a huge betrayal, but I wasn't willing to acknowledge that because I was still in active self betrayal.
Well, I mean,
So
you had bought into a system that this is just the way it is, right?
yeah, exactly. Well, that's who I'm married to for eternity. And as long as I endure to the end, the end of what, dear? The end of what? As
I know, right?
long as I endure to the end, then all of this is okay. And I was buying into that story and realizing, is it okay with me though? That was a whole different conversation. Is it okay with me? Who am I? Do I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or do I belong to myself first?
Oh, totally. And that's like even when I was reparenting last night, because I'm still just the pieces that keep popping up
Yeah.
and healing them. I slept hard last night, by the way.
Good.
Like I sleep great anyway, but like, woof, so glad I didn't have to be up early. But you belong to you, right? Like in the
Mhm.
parenting, it's like no, you belong to you. I'm talking to
Yeah.
my little self, and And it's safe now to be who you want to be because
Yeah.
I am the authority and I'm the one who gets to push back on those who don't like it. You go enjoy. You're safe, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just when you really start looking, it's one of those things where you're like, no, I can't unsee it. It's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Where you like buy into things. It's okay. I'm fine. I have um on TikTok, on my TikTok account, I have a sound bite that I use. I'm fine. She's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And it's like I use that a lot on some of the stuff I post because it's so relatable, right?
Yeah.
As we just continue to lie to ourselves, just stay in this system that is so not safe and so not supportive.
No.
And when we are healing it, again, it boggles my mind how much internal resistance there is.
Yeah.
And like,
I like I like watched myself slowly back away from the system. Yeah.
well, when I first got into reparenting, this was probably 2014 or 15, and it was a week or two before I was assaulted. And I was at my parents' house having a discussion with my mother because we were planning a trip to Israel and Jordan, like a whole family trip. And we are talking about luggage. And I really wanted to use this piece of luggage because it was like perfect. So I don't have to check my luggage. It was like a whole thing, right? Well, I wanted Taylor to use that. Taylor's my niece. And I'm like, why do the grandkids always take precedence over me? Boom. Okay. Like here, I've just unearthed like,
Oh yeah.
a volcano by asking that question, right?
Yeah, you're not allowed to ask questions, Paige.
I know I should have my own suitcase, but that my parents had this piece that I loved to use because I traveled so much for teaching yoga. I just love this particular suitcase. And so anyway, and I asked the question and I wasn't supposed to ask that question. And
Yeah.
then here comes, Hiroshima. And I stayed in the adult. I could hear the child screaming, "Poor, we gotta get out of here." Like I could hear in the back of my mind the child, it's not
Hmm.
safe. We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. She's not safe. Like, let's just go. And I stayed in the adult and I just kept confronting her. And I was like, you realize when you react this way that you create a situation that's not stable for others who are interacting with you. And this is
Hmm.
why there's friction. Like, I don't know what you expect. That
Yeah.
actually got her to calm down. Like I stayed in the adult. I didn't go to the child where the fight and the power struggle lived. I stayed in the adult and she could actually respond as the adult,
Yeah.
as her own adult. And we actually sat down and had a discussion. And I told her, whenever you react this way, the only thing I hear is, I don't matter. I don't matter. And
Hmm.
my mom started crying. She was like, oh my gosh, I would never want my child to feel this way. And I said, well, are you willing to reflect before you respond from now on? And her response was, that's too much work. Noted. But I noted
Yeah.
it from the adult, not the child. Personal limitation, not personal problem for me, right?
Yeah.
And but like the child, again, she was in the background going, oh, and I just literally had to keep reminding her, I'm dealing with this lady now. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You're safe. Like I'm going to deal with her.
Hmm.
And but that's what reparenting looks like.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with my former husband where I didn't realize it, but anytime we were like in my body when we were approaching intimacy, I would go to this place of like, oh, maybe this time it'll fix things. Maybe this time he'll feel differently. Maybe this time he'll love me again. And like, which wasn't supported by the environment at all. And that wasn't the question to ask. Those weren't the questions to answer. But when we were having an actual conversation where I where I did feel supported in my own nervous system because I was showing up as me. the the questions came very easily of like, um, what's the reality of what I'm experiencing? And I remember he had told me that, um, that if anyone knew his truth, if anyone actually knew him, that he basically told me he'd been hiding from me because if anyone knew him, that that would make like it's for me to ask that of him, for me to invite him to share all of who he is, was for me to ask him not to be loved because he saw that he was fundamentally unlovable, and that if I divorced him, that would mean no one could ever love him because, um, ooh, he said, because Tuesday, you have the lowest standards of any woman I've ever met. And I realized, I was like, oh, this is like this is like if I keep going, this would be my inner child wounds communicating with his inner child wounds. I can't parent him. I can't fix like the place that he's at. I cannot fix. Um, and so like I have a great compassion for him and where he's at, but I also recognize that that's not somewhere I can go because it would require me to literally abandon myself to be okay with that. And like, of course, it's not working. Of course, it wasn't working to be in a relationship with someone who saw me as, um, well, either lying or stupid for loving him. Like with where he was at, if I told him I loved him, I had to either be lying or stupid from that mindset, from that framework. And so, yeah, that doesn't work. And like, oh, this is a person who sees me as having extremely low standards, and that's the only reason that I am in their life. No wonder this isn't working.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just having that framework of knowing, oh, this isn't about me. This is a lot of grown-ups carrying around our childhood selves that we haven't worked out, and that's okay.
And that's why I talk a lot about like outsourcing validation and being caught in power struggle loops.
Yeah.
If you're constantly operating from the child saying, please validate me, it never happens.
Uh-huh.
The ironic thing is when you validate yourself, whatever that piece might look like, if you do that work, you don't need it from the outside anymore.
Yeah.
You're more inclined to just give it
Yeah.
without strings, attachments, agenda, anything, because it just pours out of you naturally. And then the way you look at reality and people changes because you're no longer looking at them like, are you going to be safe from my nervous system or are you a threat to my nervous system?
Yeah.
You no longer look at them through that filter. You're just like, oh, here's this person who hasn't quite healed yet.
Yeah. And
Well,
I
here,
know that I trust me and I'm safe. Like I make safe choices. I choose safe people. I trust me. I don't have to get that from anybody anymore.
yeah, and I just let go of a longtime friend recently because it just things had kind of hit a breaking point, and I asked her if she could meet my boundaries, and you know, she couldn't even have the conversation, and I was like, okay, and I wasn't mad about it. I was just like, because I wasn't looking for her to validate me, but if I was going to interact with her, there needed to be some boundaries because she
Yeah.
kept insinuating that my dad was like this pathological person in my life, and I'm like, okay, look, honey. Just because you go to therapy with your father, just because you're willing to date a married man, doesn't mean we all have daddy issues. And I can't have you putting that on me because my dad has been the only consistent thing in my life, like literally from start to finish. So I can't have that. You can have your opinions. I don't even care how you feel about it. I just need you to respect the projection aspect of it and not constantly put that on me as though like there's an issue there. And again, like even with this recent reparenting, again, it my mother is 99% of my issues. like, It's a real easy guess. Like, who caused you the pain? Probably mom. But
Yeah.
where's the healing happen? On me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the one that bought into whatever it is she did. It's not like it's ever
Mhm.
really truly their fault. Like, they just set up a circumstance for us to respond to, and
Yes.
most of the time we don't choose the right response, right? But
Sure.
inevitably it was like, to constantly try to pathologize my relationship with my father, when again he's my been my protector, my defender, my cheerleader, my biggest support. Like, every time we go to lunch, she's like, "This is my daughter, the international yoga teacher," and I'm like, "Amazing, she wrote a book." Like,
I love that you're like already like you're like blushing right now. Like
what?
you're like blushing right
I
now.
know.
Like
I'm just like, oh, here we
this
go
is cute.
again.
You're like, oh dad, suddenly I'm in the spotlight.
That's my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, if
Yeah.
I am ever in a broken like,
Meanwhile, my dad's over here like, my daughter has Drusilla feet. Because he's in the practice of defending my mother who has Cinderella feet, apparently. Why do we care about feet? I don't know. I didn't hear it. I don't know what you're talking
and
about.
I went no contact with my mother, and that was a very
Yeah.
sticky issue. And I had to tell my dad, like, "Dad, the only reason I've put up with her wasn't for her, it was for you." And like, if you want to keep doing that, you go for it, but I don't want to. And so, as a result of my decision, he has chosen to respect my boundary by living in two different worlds.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, he should have divorced your mom." He doesn't have to divorce my mom to prove that he can respect my boundaries.
Yeah.
My dad's 81 years old. If he doesn't want to break up his marriage at this point, like that, I don't care. He's willing to respect my boundaries and meet up with me without her. And that's all I ask. That's all I ask. So, of course, it was really more envy, jealousy, just projection of
Yeah.
what she's not getting. And I told her, I'm like, "Look, you're the one that's selling out. You're the one that's choosing secrecy over intimacy by dating a married man. Like, my mom knows about me.
Yeah.
His wife does not know about you. So let's call this what this is." But again, she couldn't even really have the conversation. And that's
Of
where,
course.
again, I wasn't mad. I wasn't hurt. I was just like, okay, we're not in alignment then.
Yeah.
Like, my pain isn't speaking to her. My boundaries are, but like, I'm not in a painful place with it because I recognize her limitation. But it's like, okay, but I'm not going to hold space for it though anymore.
Yeah.
If you're not
Exactly.
going to, if you're not going to respect my position, then I don't know where we end this except to end this, because it's not okay. And
Mhm.
I have friends of all walks of life. Like, I'm not a drinker. I have friends who are alcoholics. You just don't get to bring it to my world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the
Exactly.
difference. Like, people are allowed to be themselves. I don't expect people to
They're
be
even allowed to
perfect.
be messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be a certain way to be in my life. You just have to respect my boundaries. That's it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so you can be you. Um,
Yeah. But if
and
you're gonna be that kind of you, be that kind of you over there. you
well,
know?
again,
Like
like,
and
and
it's
I
like
don't even care if you
it's not
drink too
even
much.
about yeah, it's not about the judgment. It's like, hey, I know what's safe for me. Can we play safe together?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, if there's something that doesn't work in this container, it's okay. Just do it over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even care if you drink in front of me, as long as like it doesn't get messy or crazy
Yeah.
to my detriment, right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I've known sex workers. I literally have absolutely no qualms about how you live your life. I could give a rat's ass. I don't care if you're
Yeah.
trans. I don't care. I don't have any rules for who you have to be in my life as a unique individual, as long as
Hmm.
you're respectful of me and my boundaries. That's it. And
Yeah.
so again, it was like she couldn't do that part and without making it my fault.
Hmm. That's like I feel like that's like one of the things that really wrecks relationships is that relationship to fault and blame. Like as long as I have a relationship to fault and blame, as long as something has to be someone's fault, my relationships are not safe. You know, like no one is safe in a relationship with me if that's where I'm coming from.
And again, I mean, my whole point is that like I was able to walk away without pain
Yeah,
because I didn't need her to validate me. I just needed her to respect me. That's it.
yeah,
There's a difference.
huge difference.
When we outsource our validation and it doesn't work, there's
Hmm.
pain because then we think we're still the problem. Like I did something wrong, and it's like
Yeah, I
no.
must have done something wrong. It
Yeah,
must be somebody's fault. Is it me or you or me or you? That's
again,
where
that's
pain comes from in a relationship. Yeah.
but that's where you keep playing into that betrayal wound.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not safe to be me. See, they didn't validate
Exactly.
me. They didn't validate me.
Exactly.
And that's where that keeps perpetuating that loop that we live in. And we wonder why somatic exercises or yoga breath or
Hmm.
nutrition doesn't take us all the way to healing.
Yeah. Well, and that whole game of like, can I be validated? It comes from that question of like, or even is it okay to be me? It's like, am I worthy? Am I worthy? Now am I worthy? And it's a game that never ends. There are infinite ways that I can see myself as unworthy. There are infinite ways that I can negotiate my value if that's a game I choose to play. And the only time it stops is when I say so.
Well, and it's a really easy way to like question if it's a pattern that's working because you'll have evidence
Mm-hmm.
that it's actually worked. But if you're a gambling addict with your pattern and you're like, no, really, just one more achievement will fill that void.
Yes. Yeah, if I just play
20
this game
years of it
one
not
more
working, I
time,
don't
I'm gonna
know.
get the jackpot. I'm gonna feel really validated.
And
It's not worth it.
I won't say I've had clients like that. I did have a friend like that who was just like, no, achievement is my highest value. And I'm like, except that it runs you ragged. You're exhausted. You're miserable. You never actually feel like
Hmm.
validated by it.
Uh-huh. I have a friend like that right now. I, I love him to death, but yeah, he sees his value as being achievement based, and it's like, well, where's that gotten you? You're completely speaking of burnout not happening exclusively to women. He's a 36-year-old man, and he feels completely worthless because his burnout has run him into the ground. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what happens when achievement is the only way that you feel valuable. It sucks, but there's always a way out. So
Anytime you outsource your validation, you lose.
yeah, every time.
Anytime you do it, it doesn't matter what it is or what the piece is, worthiness, good enough, love, acceptance.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter what it is. Anytime you outsource it, you're on a path to just losing everything.
yeah. Well, and even with that same friend, I've watched him shift from like those kinds of beliefs to just experimenting with the idea of like, oh, I'm powerful as I am. I'm I'm already enough, and just like moving into those processes on his own is life changing. So it's exciting. Like that's a decision. Like I guess what I want to contribute here is that is truly just a choice. Even the work is just a choice. Um, Breaking those patterns is a choice. It's like, yeah, maybe it's hard, maybe it does take work, but you can't tell me it doesn't take work to stay there. You can't tell me it doesn't take work to repeat those patterns. Like I've been in I've experienced a lot of my life repeating patterns that sucked, and I can testify that that was a lot of work, you know.
I'm
So
really good about breaking the pattern. I would say sometimes it's hard to find the culprit.
sure.
Even like with Chat GPT, like part of me kind of getting to the core of this was I was like, all right, you've gotten to know me. Name my strengths and weaknesses. Maybe you
Hmm.
can reflect back something to me that this Neptune transit doesn't want to.
Sure.
this fog that I've been living in, right? And one of the things it said was you don't know when to stop fighting. And I was like, okay, I agree with you. I agree with you. Why is there always a fight, right? So like I
Yeah.
use that as leverage to try to figure out what was really going on under the surface. And I just was like, it's time. It's time to get to the core
Hmm.
of this. So, it's like how many fucking legal battles do I have to be in before I become an attorney myself,
I know. Exactly. I was
Like
like,
as I'm
I'm
talking
really
to
good at writing
Tuesday.
these letters.
No, as I'm talking to Tuesday, I was like, hello, go to court. Like literally, I think I was the one that said that to you. Like,
Yeah,
you have rights.
I
You
do.
have a divorce decree. Let's enforce that shit, shall we? Like,
Yeah, definitely. But I
there's
still had
always
to get there. Like even hearing you, like I had to come to a place where I'm open to that. And like, so thank you. And I'm excited like for where I'm at that I'm even able to listen. So, because I can't remember what it's my Mars that's in Taurus. I'm a stubborn little bitch sometimes, you know?
well,
So,
there's a governing body to everything.
yeah.
One of the things that like in the early stages of this, I'll just tell the story and kind of circle back. But like when it first started, I was in Costa Rica and I'd made an arrangement for a car and I'd paid it in full for the month with my Amex, kind of knowing that I was going to need to use the insurance because I was like, okay, well, Amex
Yeah.
covers that, not a problem. I get there and they're like, oh no, we don't take, the insurance to the credit card, blah, blah, blah. Even though legally, in Costa Rica, they do that particular spot didn't want to, and they were outsourced. So I booked it through a US company and they outsourced it to Costa Rica. And they were like, it's $2,200 for the insurance for the month,
Oh.
500 for the car, 2,200 for the insurance.
Hmm.
Livid. And I didn't know what kind of recourse I had. And of course, the credit card company's like, yeah, well, you signed the agreement. And I'm like, yeah, under duress. I'm in Costa Rica with
Yeah.
two pets and a friend. Like it's COVID. I have any other options at this point,
Yeah.
you know? And um, so I kind of just let it simmer. And then I was like, oh, that's right. Well, so that when the chargeback didn't work, by the way, screw Barclays. They're just really difficult with chargebacks, but always go through Amex. I put it on my Barclays card instead of my Amex because of just the amount.
Yeah.
I just have an obscene limit on Barclays, and about a third of that on my Amex. I was like, well, let me just put it here. That was whatever. But I did learn long term that basically because I had looked it through an American company and I looked at the agreement and there was nothing. It didn't prepare you like, hey, by the way, this is the insurance that you're gonna have to do. Like it didn't stipulate any of this.
Yeah.
So I just sent, I forgot the car company I booked it through, but I basically sent them a demand letter and I said, you're gonna pay me back because I didn't book it through EC rental car. I booked it through you guys.
Hmm.
They might not be my jurisdiction, but you are.
Yeah.
And I followed up on the demand letter and they ended up giving me a full refund.
Yeah.
I said, this is called price gouging. This is misrepresentation. This is negligence. Like I just listed all of the things and I said, it's fine. I'll just take you to court over this. I don't really care because it's like there's the contract doesn't have any of this in it.
Yeah.
And so they folded. They gave me back my money. But anyway, so there's always a governing body that can get involved in any
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be a big deal, even. Like the legal letter I sent was $500, you know? It's like it's not that it was insignificant, but it's just if there's someone not listening and it's an appropriate request, then there is an appropriate channel to go through. Like you
Mhm.
said, a governing body, and they exist for a reason. And that's part of what I'm like recognizing is that if I want to escape the patterns of self betrayal, then it's time to use my resources. It's time to engage in my life in such a way um, that I'm protecting myself
Absolutely.
and not in like an old pattern fake protection kind of way of like codependency, but of real actionable result oriented um, options.
No, 100%. I mean, but yeah, as soon as you start pulling at that thread of betrayal, it's like you can't not see it everywhere.
Yeah,
It's like patriarchy. All of a sudden, I can't unsee it everywhere. It's
I
like,
know. That's what I was talking about with the little, like, I'm just going to scoot back from this big corporate religion that I've been a part of my entire life that dictated, that I allowed to dictate every choice that I ever made because they promised me freedom and they promised me joy and they promised me a family um, that could last eternally. And when I started to see that pattern of betrayal and what that looks like, what that really looks like, I was like, oh, I gave my I gave my life to the wrong institution, you know. Uh, like I didn't even give it to a person. I didn't give it to me. I gave it to a corporation, and this corporation told me to make certain choices, and I signed my life over. I agreed to it. I agreed to all of it. Um, Biggest gamble of my life, you know, of like speaking of that game of like maybe I'll be validated. Like, yeah, I invested quite a lot into that slot machine, you know. But when I took a step back and I looked at the whole, I was like, oh, this isn't this isn't too different from polygamy. Like yes, polygamy is this other thing, the FLDS church or whatever. But if you go to Utah and you're standing in Costco, everyone's wearing a uniform. They've all got their boyfriend jeans and their little white lace eyelet tops with the same haircut, the same hair color, and the same jewelry. And it's like, how do you not look just like how do you not see it? You look just like the polygamous women with their puff sleeves and their big hair. It's different uniform, but it's still a uniform. And with where I'm at with myself, I'm like, oh, it's okay for me to have a nose ring. It's okay for me to have tattoos. These are the things that are my unique expression and they keep me safe and not in a fake way, like these processes that I was engaged in my whole life, but in a real actionable way because my individuality, like the more individual I am, the less likely I am to be preyed upon because now I'm easy to describe. Now I'm memorable. And these religions, well, and it doesn't have to be a religion, but even corporations will do this.
oh yeah, they strip you of your identity.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes it really easy to prey upon people. It makes it really easy to target and victimize because you're not a real person anymore. You're just a number. And and if you're just a number, then no one's going to listen to you. No one's going to take you seriously. So that's kind of what I started noticing is I was like, oh, I'm not like I'm tired of trusting systems that tell me to be less of who I am and promise me safety when the natural result is completely opposite. You know?
Well, and it's what's interesting is that like I pretty much work with codependent women. Like I just that's kind of pervasive, right? Like most women,
Yeah.
even the most outspoken, like I said, have an area of their life
Mm-hmm.
where they are just completely people pleasing. And yet I really was not a people pleaser. There have been moments where I've submit to that, but very rare. And I'm the scapegoat, I'm the truth teller. I mean, this is why I was so hated by my own mother. Like, how dare you tell the truth? How dare you be
How
like,
dare you even see the truth?
yeah, like what? So just extreme punishing in my life for being outspoken.
Yeah.
But that's where that fight came in, right? Like, well, I'm always fighting. Like, that's where that fight piece came in. because in order to maintain my survival, like I had to fight. I guess I could have been a codependent, but my spirit didn't even know that was an option, right? So it was just like, no, we're gonna fight. And because I was afraid for my survival, I mean, she was
Yeah.
so treacherous. And when you're little, you don't know any better. Like this big person is just being mean to you, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
Hmm.
But I never became totally silent ever. And
No, I can't even imagine that happening to you.
but even I had a gymnastics coach throw me against the wall because I wouldn't stop talking at 10.
Yeah.
I, I, but when you don't stay silent, what do you get? A fight. And
Hmm.
and my soul, my spirit, my inner child, were just ready to retire the fight. And I'm not even done with the legal battles. Like we're getting ready to file against YouTube and Google for a creator defaming me. I can't wait.
Dang.
But I'm doing it from a different place now. And I'm excited about that, that I don't have to be in this space of friction. I can set the tone for just what it means to be me and operate from the authority instead.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's like most people end up here because of their codependency, but codependency is not the only reason you end up betraying yourself. Just FYI,
Sure.
point I was trying to make,
Yes.
you know?
Absolutely.
Like I can exist in my essence and take up space without fighting for it.
Mhm.
So, anything else that you would
Exciting.
like to contribute, Tuesday?
No, I feel just really grateful that we've been able to have this conversation.
And hopefully it'll inspire other women to know that like when you choose yourself,
Hmm.
there's some disruption
Absolutely.
on the outside, on the inside too, but essentially when you come home to yourself, mm,
Yeah,
I just it's priceless.
it
That
is. It's delicious.
I don't have imposter syndrome. I don't have those confidence issues. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? To be able to speak and not think twice about the repercussions.
Yeah.
Because the more you heal, like I said, the more you validate you, the less you look to your external for cues. It's just not even a thought anymore.
No, that makes sense.
So to constantly be living in a space where you are having to manage, oh, what will they think? What will they say? What will they
Mm-mm.
Meanwhile, your nervous system and your inner child is just like, oh, who do we have to be today? Because we know we can't be us. We can't be what we want to be.
Yeah, talk about exhausting.
Yeah,
No wonder people burn out.
100%.
Seriously.
But anyway, so if you are interested in more information, I am available. You can hit me up, email me. I would love to chat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for participating Tuesday. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely.